All right, number one asks you to divide using long division. So we need to make sure that both the dividend and divisor are written having all terms accounted for, and they need to be in order. And it looks like they are. So we're going to have 3x squared plus 7x minus 20 divided by x plus 4. So x times what is 3x squared? We have 3x. So then we multiply. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 4 is 12x. Then we need to change these signs down here. So change to a negative, change this to a negative, and add down. So a 7x minus 12x is negative 5x. Bring the negative 20 down. X goes into negative 5x, negative 5. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. Change the signs and add down. You get a remainder of 0. So the quotient is 3x minus 5. Number 2, divide using synthetic. So we want to take all of the coefficients here. It's in order and we don't have anything missing. We've got cubed, squared, x to the 1, and then the constant. So let's write down the coefficients of each of these. 1, negative 4, 6, and negative 4. Because it says x minus 2, we're going to put 2 on the outside here. It's always going to be the opposite of this value. So we drop the 1 down and we multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. Let's add down. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. And we multiply. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 6 and negative 4 is positive 2. Multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. Add down. We have 0. So this is our remainder. This is our constant. This is our x term. This is our x squared term. So the quotient is going to be 1x squared minus 2x plus 2. This says use synthetic and the remainder theorem to find P of A. So this over here we have to write down all of the coefficients. So 1, 4, and 4. There's no gaps. So 1, 4, 4, and you could put the constant of 0 there if you want. And because we're doing the remainder theorem, this value is going to be the value that you put here. You don't take the opposite of it. It's only when there's division by x plus 4 or x minus 2, then you take the difference, or the different sign of it. This, you actually take whatever it gives you. So 1 drops down, multiply, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, add down, negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, add down, multiply, and add down. This over here is your remainder. For a remainder theorem, the remainder is your answer. This is the same answer you would get if you took negative 2 and you plugged it in for x here, here, and here, and then simplified. Same exact answer. You only care about the remainder. The remainder is the answer for problems like this where you have to use the remainder theorem. Alright, so use synthetic and the given factor to completely factor the polynomial function. So there's no gaps, so let's write down the coefficients. So 1, 2, negative 5, negative 6. And you get those from 1, 2, negative 5, negative 6. We're dividing by x plus 1, so we're going to put a negative 1 here. Drop the 1 down, multiply, add down, multiply, add down, multiply, add down. So this is your remainder. That's your constant. That's your x. That's your x squared. That means, because the remainder is 0, this x plus 1 is a factor of this. The other factor is our answer here, is the quotient. So 1x squared plus 1x minus 6. You're basically saying that this times the answer equals the dividend. So if I want to completely factor this now, I can break this down. X plus 1 times, this can be factored. Trial and error. X, 3 and 2, different signs. The larger one is positive. So there's your answer. It's completely factored now. Number 5, divide using synthetic. So let's look and see if there's anything here. There's a gap. There is no gap. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So let's write the coefficients. 1, negative 2, 1, 1, negative 1. Because it says x minus 1, I'm going to put 1 in there. Bring the 1 down, multiply, add down, multiply, add down, multiply, add down, multiply, add down. So your remainder is 0. There's your constant. There's your x. There's your x squared. There's your x cubed. So the answer is going to be x cubed minus x squared plus 0x, so we don't have to write that term, plus 1. So that's your answer. Number 6, divide. It doesn't tell us to divide long division or synthetic, so just use synthetic. You can, because this coefficient of x is 1. So we are missing a bunch of terms here. We're missing the x to the 4th, x cubed, x squared, and the x. We're going to have to put zeros for all of those. So we do have 1x to the 5th, 0x to the 4th, 0x cubed, 0x squared, 0x, and then plus 1. We're dividing by x plus 1, so that we're going to put negative 1 here. So drop the 1, multiply, add down, multiply, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1, add down, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, add down, multiply, add down, multiply, add down. Remainder, constant, x, x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th. So our answer is going to be 1x to the 4th minus x cubed plus x squared minus x plus 1. And that's your answer. Alright, so review. Find the real solutions by factoring. So let's get everything on one side and put it in order. It's in order, it's all on one side, so let's factor out any GCF, which is 2x. So we're going to have x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 1. Alright, so what we have here is we've got 4 terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to group them. So if I group the first 2, I can factor out an x squared from it. So I'm going to have x minus 1. See, I'm grouping these two. The GCF of those two is an x squared. If I take that out, I'm going to have x minus 1. Over here, there's nothing in common, so I'm just going to factor out a 1. So I'm left with x minus 1 here. Now I've got the 2x. This can now be factored because I can take the x minus 1 and x minus 1 out. And then I've got x squared plus 1 as a leftover. So it's completely factored now. This gives me a 0 of 0. This gives me a 0 of 1. This gives me a positive or negative I. This is imaginary. So this does not give me real solutions. It's asking for real solutions. So 0 and negative 1 are my real solutions. Number 8, use the quadratic formula. So the opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's simplify. So we have 2 plus or minus. We've got 14 down here. Negative 2 squared is 4. We have a negative 4 times a 7 times a negative 5. That's plus 140. Because 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 7 is 140. So we're going to have 144 in here. That's a perfect square. So 2 plus or minus 12 all over 14. So 2 plus 12 is 14. 14 divided by 14 is 1. 2 minus 12 is negative 10. Negative 10 over 14 is negative 5/7. So 1 and negative 5/7 are your answers. Number 9, simplify. So we have 4 minus 3i times 5 plus I. So we're going to multiply this out. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times I is 4i. Negative 3i times 5 is negative 15i. Negative 3i times I is negative 3. I squared, which is positive 3. Because the I squared changes the sign of the term in front of it. Not the term in front of it, but the coefficient in front. 20 plus 3 is 23. 4i minus 15i is negative 11i. Number 10, write out an explanation describing how you can check the result of a polynomial long division problem. So let's take a look at what a long division problem entails. You've got your dividend here. You've got your divisor here. You have your quotient here. And a possible remainder. So let's say we have 10 divided by 3. When you do this out, you get 3 with a remainder of 1. How could I check this? Well, 10 equals this thing here times this thing here, and I'll use more sophisticated language in a second, and all of that plus that thing here. So the dividend, the 10, the dividend equals the quotient times the divisor equals the quotient times the divisor plus the remainder. That's a way to check it. If you multiply the divisor by the quotient and you take that value and you add the remainder to it, you should get the dividend. If not, then you did something wrong. So you want to write that out. Complete sentences using these 4 terms. These 4 terms are important. And that's it.